Hey, welcome back. So last week we looked at the Poisson disk distribution and we implemented it using an algorithm called the Mitchell's best candidate algorithm. This week we look at a slightly better algorithm called the Britson's algorithm. Now this was actually written by a person called Robert Britson, who was at the time, or I'm not sure if he's still working there for the University of Columbia. So we look at the paper and we'll look at the implementation of Britson's algorithm to generate blue noise in JavaScript. All right. I actually do have a little bit of a good news for you. So without further ado, let's begin. All right, hey Ravi, you want to say something on the mic?
Yeah, I want to put some blue noise onto the mic.
Blue noise, yes. So that was the good news. Ravi's mic is actually working. So like I was saying before, we are actually going to look at the Britson's algorithm today, and this was the paper that I was referring to. It was written by
Britson.
Let me hold on. Let me just switch cameras, and I hope I am actually using the correct camera. All right, so I am actually using the correct camera.
Yep.
And this is the blue noise generator algorithm by Robert Britson. From the University of British Columbia. I'm sorry, I think I messed it up just a little bit over there, but University of British Columbia. All right. So he states that for this to happen, you need to have just three of these steps, or 0, 1, 2 steps to happen. Number one, initialize an n-dimensional background grid for storing and sampling spatial particles. All right. So we'll look at it in depth. Put a point at a random place, and number two, while there are active, we'll look at what active points and points are in this one. As long as there are active points alive on that canvas that we are going to draw, we keep on generating more and more points across the whole plane. All right, and this will give us a really nice blue noise, or a really nice points distribution as it is shown over here. It really does work. I have done this in processing and it works really well.
Very nice.
All right. So that being said, I actually want to just take a little bit of a sidetrack and just want to look at a little some functions and some classes that we would be using as part of today's coding.
Yeah.
Last week when we actually coded it up, we didn't have. We had to use X and Y. Basically any point on a canvas has an X and Y coordinate.
Correct.
We were using different variables for that, so there were too many variables and arrays to manage and all of those things, right?
Yeah.
So this week I thought it would be better if I can just have like a point class. A point class is essentially it's very simple to understand.
Yep.
It has an X and Y coordinate, and that's about it. This is how you write a class in JavaScript. That's about it. The other function that that we would be using a lot is a function called random between. Now to generate a random number in JavaScript, you would use the math.random function.
Yeah.
But many times you would need a random function, a random value between a minimum and a maximum value.
Right.
Which is why we have I have this function, and it looks like this. Basically, it has has this function that can return a value between a minimum and a maximum.
Sure.
And finally, we also have this function called getDistance.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's the hypotenuse
Square.
Length square plus square root of length square plus breadth square.
Correct.
That's about it. So we have these three functions that we would be using. Now, the setup is as always it's the same setup. I have a HTML file. I have a canvas on it. In this case, I'm calling this the BRD canvas. And I have a JavaScript function which already has an init function. The init function is called from the onload function. And just to reiterate, we're not using any frameworks, nothing of that sort over here, because frameworks or third-party libraries generally tend to deprecate as they age, or functions fall out of use, or are no longer present in latest versions. So I don't know at what point in time you are watching this. We just want to make sure that this will work now as well as it will work 10 years later. All right.
Sure.
So that being said, let's go ahead and get started.
Yep.
Just to look at what the what the canvas will look like. Yep. So this is what our canvas is going to look like.
Yep.
This is where we are going to draw our points. All right. Looking back at the algorithm that Britson discusses. Initialize an n-dimensional background grid for storing samples and accelerating spatial searches. We pick the cell to be bounded by the radius of what we want by the square root of n dimensions. All right,
Ah.
so whatever square root that we want, so that each grid cell will contain at most one sample, and that each grid can be implemented as a simple n dimensional array of integers.
Right.
The default -1 indicates no sample. Basically, if it's a null or if it is undefined in the case of JavaScript, means there is nothing in that place. All right. So we are going to be discussing this concept called as grid.
Mhm.
Right, let me just change the camera to myself so that
Yep.
yeah. So
You
we are
can
going to
do
be talking about three concepts. Number one is something called as a grid. Number two is something called as points. Basically, those are points or established points on the canvas. And number three, those are called as those points can also be active points. The same points that we looked at, they are basically active points. And what that means is that as long as there are no, so active points are points for which new points will be evaluated for. All right.
Right.
If an active point cannot have any more new points, it is no longer an active point. It is simply a point. That's it.
Right.
All right. So let me just go back to our code, and maybe I can just show to you what I mean by all of that, or how this algorithm will work.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to start my screen, my tablet sharing, and this basically allows me to draw something on the tablet,
Okay.
and then see it on the screen.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So Ravi, if you remember last week's Mitchell's best candidate was like this. So let's say I had 3 points on the screen. Let me make it a little bit thicker. How do I make it thicker? All right. So let's say I have 3 points on the screen like this, and I want to add, let's say, a new point. We are still discussing Mitchell's best. And how does Mitchell's best work? You first draw something called as candidates. So you draw candidates. All right. So let's say I draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It can be anywhere between 9 and 10. I mean any. So you need to have basically more than 2 candidates for this to work. So let's say I have all of these candidates. What you do is you find out the distance, or you find out which is the closest distance to the candidates to the active points. So for this one, this is the closest, this is the closest. So the blue lines are showing which one is the closest to the active points. All right, the red ones are active points,
Right.
the brown ones are candidates. So you will see that this is
Yeah.
what it looks like.
Yeah.
Now, if I was to say which is the best candidate, the best candidate would be the one which is farthest away from its active point.
Right.
So in this case, what would happen is that this would become an active point.
Yeah.
That's how Mitchell's best candidate works. All right. Now, now let's look at how how Britson's algorithm works. What he says is that forget about the grid at this point, but let's just consider that we have, let's say, some points that we've put here. All right. That we have on the screen. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 points already on the screen.
Yep.
Now, so these are points as well as they are active points. All right. Okay. So what will happen is, if I want to create a new point, first I will take a circle that goes from R. Let me just undo this so that the circle is a little bit better. All right, that goes from R to 2R, and I will draw some k number of samples in this. All right, so n number of points, k number of samples, and I'll make these samples, let's say, purple in color. All right, so I'll put these samples in these colors. All right, now if any one of these samples are within the radius of an already existing active point, then that point is no longer valid. It cannot be valid. So in this case, this is not valid, this is not valid, maybe this is valid, but if you look at it, this one is like the furthest, and this will become another active point. So this becomes another active point. So now we have 4 active points over here. All right, so because we are generating new points within the R between radius and
Twice the radius.
twice the radius.
Okay.
And if any one of those points generated within that are away from other existing active points,
Right.
there should be a minimum of r distance away from an existing
Got
point.
it.
If that happens, then a new active point is formed.
Got
In
it.
this case, I think a lot of active points are formed.
Yeah.
This one might not be active, so I'm going to go ahead and cross this off. This one might not be active. This one might be active, and he might become active. Alright, so this one becomes active, this one. So now you have so many other, you have new this thing. So in the next iteration, you once again start from another, point. Let me take a different color, or let me take this color. Alright, let's say you want to draw a new point. So let's say I want to make this. So I'll start from here to 2r, and I will put so many other points over here. Alright, and you will see that this is not valid. Maybe this is valid, I don't know, but this is definitely not valid because it's close to this point and all of those things. This one is actually easier coded than I would say explained.
So
But
what is R again here?
R is a random, R is an arbitrarily chosen value. Alright, it basically means each circle needs to be this much away from the next circle, or each circle must be away from the next, or each point must be away from the next point by so many different values.
Okay.
Alright, so that's what it means. Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so was this okay?
Uh-huh.
Alright, so let me just stop this
Right.
so that we don't hog our bandwidth. Right, I'm going to close this, and that's what essentially we are going to be coding.
Okay.
And so step one, initialize an n-dimensional background grid. Yes. So where does this grid thing come? Alright.
Uh-huh.
So remember how I was showing you that, how I was showing you all of these points and everything. Damn it. Let me just share the screen over here. Once again, I'll just share the screen. Alright. So remember how I was showing you these points. Alright. So how does each point over here, let me just mark this by a different color. Alright. So basically the grid is to show these points that I'm generating. Just make sure that I'm comparing it against points within this particular grid. And I mean basically so the new points that I'm generating, do you want me to start with the new, let me just start with the new. Alright, so let's say I have, so let's say I already have like a lot of points established, alright, a lot of active points. Alright, so you can see that there are so many active points. And now this is an active point being evaluated. So I'm going to put this one and make it thin. This is the one that is being evaluated between R and 2R. And I'm going to put new points, right?
Yep.
These new points basically, they have to be, we have to make sure that they are at least R distance away from all of the existing active points.
Right.
So we have to make sure this is away from this, from R, this
Yep.
is away from here, this is away,
Uh-huh,
right?
uh-huh.
But how long will they go and check the R distance?
Right.
Will this be compared against, let's say, a point over here? No, right?
Okay.
It needs to be compared only against
Against
points in that specific
Correct.
grid.
Right.
That's what the grid, that's
Correct.
the grid he's talking about.
Right.
This is to fasten your search. You
Right.
don't want to search,
Yes.
all these new points that we are creating, you
Yeah.
don't want to search it against the entire grid.
Right.
You only want to search it against a
Correct.
specific amount of this thing. This is just to make sure that it's a little bit faster. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it. So let's code it up. Oh yeah, and actually another thing I wanted to show, not show, but actually tell. So looking at our video statistics, it looks like our whole watch time is less than 10 minutes, per episode. So what I'm planning to do from this week onwards is, if you're just okay with the satisfaction and you don't want to, watch the entire coding process, we will upload another video where the coding process is itself sped up or is
Right.
fast.
So that
you don't
they
have
can
to
see
sit-
the output
You can
directly.
see the output directly instead of waiting through the whole thing.
Right.
If the explanation itself is enough for you, anyways we will put the code down in the
Exactly,
description
and then-
yeah.
yes.
Anyways we'll put the code down for you and then we are good. So yeah. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. This is where we actually go ahead and get started, right? So so what does he say? So let's look at the algorithm. And he says initialize an n-dimensional background grid for storing samples and accelerating spatial searches. We pick cells from size bounded by r by square root of rn. Alright, so immediately we would require a couple of constants over here. Alright, so I'm just going back to the drawing
Mm-hmm.
and I just want to show what I mean by that. So let's say I have a point, an active point here. Alright, I have an active point here. So I have to draw between R and 2R.
Mm.
Basically, this new point that I'm going to make can be anywhere in that circle. Can be anywhere, right?
Yep.
Alright, I mean it has to be anywhere in that within that annulus.
Right.
Okay. So
Right.
I would basically need to make sure that the radiance is chosen randomly.
Mm.
That the radian value is chosen randomly. A circle has 360 degrees, right? So 360 degrees randomly I have to choose. Alright, so I'm going to have a random radian. I'm going to call it r theta is equal to random between 0 and 360. Alright,
Okay.
I'm going to say random between 0 and 360. So yeah, so let this be there. And then so it would require two things. Number one, it would need to be at any random point in a circular domain, and as well as a random length between this and this. So
Mhm.
that also needs to be random,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yep.
the radius also needs to be random. Stop sharing. Alright, so the radius also need to be random. So So yeah, so that's about it. So that's how. So that's what it looks like.
Mm.
Alright, so that's what the Britson's algorithm essentially looks like when it creates a new, when it creates, when it is creating this. Alright. Now let's compare it to last week's.
Yep.
Alright. So this is what it looked like last week.
Mm.
Alright. This was Mitchell's best,
Hmm.
and let me just. So yeah. So I think it will also help if we try and draw the same image
Mm.
over here also.
Okay.
Right? You think it'll be? You think I should do that?
Mm.
Alright. So first things first, let's make it a little bit more crowded, because you can see how crowded this is. I'm
Yeah.
going to make it exactly like that. So let's make it a little bit more crowded. So I'm going to say radius
5.
5. Okay, 5. And I'm going to reduce these. Oh, come on, where is it? The draw function. I mean, I was looking at the draw function. Okay, 3 is good, I think. 3 is good. Oh. Yeah.
Oh, that's
That's too crowded?
Maybe.
Maybe we should make it
maybe you can make
6?
this the circles 2.
circles
Radius.
2. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that. No, because I'm going to put an image on top of
Yes.
this.
Yes. Right. Ah. Wow.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, it looks
It's
Yeah.
a lot of points.
right. It looks like it's enough enough
Well
distribution.
distributed. Yeah.
All right. So that being said, let's draw an image on
Mhm.
on top of this. Or do you want to animate this? You want to animate this?
Sure.
I think it'll look great if it is animated.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's do the animation first, and then we can do the
Mm.
we can do the image overlay on top of this. So a lot of these Britson's algorithm and even the Mitchell's best, they show it animated. It's actually easy to do, because at this point you have at the finish of the init function, we have already initialized the points.
Correct.
Now all we need to do is have a counter. Maybe we'll start it at 0. All right, so we'll start it at 0. I'll move this over to the before draw. I mean, basically the clearing of the background, I'll move it before the draw, and the draw should only be concerned with drawing each single point over and over again. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just temporarily move it over here, because I need that code to draw. So the point is equal to, what was the name of that variable we gave? Index. Did we call it index or what? Counter, CTR. Of CTR, begin path, draw. Yeah. Timeout. I'm going to make it 50 milliseconds. It's going to be slow, but we'll see how it goes. All right. So the draw is called the count, and then we have a counter variable. Say counter plus plus. All right. So the counter is incremented, and then it basically calls itself after 50 millisecond timeout, and then it draws the next point over and over again. We'll just make sure that if CTR is less than points dot length, I mean, if counter exceeds points dot length, we'll just say return. Don't process anymore. We're basically done animating the disk. All right. And if that is the case, we don't need this anymore. All right. Let's see what it looks like. Now 50 milliseconds looks like it's a little bit.
Going to take a lot of time.
It's going to take a lot of time.
Especially with the radius that we have.
that we gave. So just say
10.
5 milliseconds.
Ah, 5.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, this animation that you're seeing, it's the order in which the points were
Correct.
created.
Yes.
Points were created.
Right.
Yeah. So this is what it will look like, if it is basically.
So if we increase the radius, the spacing will be more.
if we increase the radius, the spacing would be more. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's increase the radius and see how quickly it will draw. So I'll say, let's say 12. It'll be very fast.
Yeah,
it'll be
yeah.
very fast. Yeah.
It's able to.
Yeah.
Perfect. But so interesting that just by changing the radius,
Yeah.
we still get such an even distribution.
Such an even, but still random.
It's
That's
still
why
random.
this is called as blue noise.
Right.
That's
right.
why this is called blue
Very,
noise.
very interesting. Very nice algorithm.
Yeah. So yeah, so I've changed it back to 5 because now I intend to draw the image on top of this one. All right, and I'm hoping that I remember the code from last week, how to draw an image and all of those things. So now I have I basically have the same image with me. So what I'll do is now I have this draw function. I load the image over here, or let me just take it from last week.
Yeah.
What do you say? Just take it from last week. So I do not need this because I'm going to be putting it with a pattern. Now this mountains.jpg already also exists in the current directory. Now so that image.onload, instead of start drawing, I'll say draw. Call the draw function on.
Okay.
So this will call the draw function when the image has finished loading.
Okay.
So that's what it'll do.
What
so
is that an image?
Yeah.
Okay,
An image
declare
has to
that.
be a variable that we'll have to declare.
Right.
So let me put it here. Basically, yeah. So
Okay.
we'll have to just create that variable. Now we have the mountains.jpg. Call the draw function. Yeah. So what did I do? Yeah. So I'll have to create a pattern. Yeah. So I'll have to basically create this pattern and then do this one. So yeah. So on load. Instead of doing this, let me say on load is equal to function. I'll basically call a function.
Nice.
And I'll say pattern is equal to this context.create pattern of the image. Say no repeat. BRD context.fill style is equal to pattern1 and then call draw.
Correct.
Alright. Now let's see what it looks like. Of course it failed. Cannot set property src of undefined at init. What does that mean?
It's undefined in the start, it's saying, right? So what was it? Should it be defined as some?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I think it needs to be initialized as an image.
Right.
Yeah, like
right.
this.
Right. Correct.
Now what?
Did it
Oh,
find?
you know what? Yeah, no. It is drawing it, but at that spot on that spot there is no image. I mean, wherever it is drawing, it is there. The image is not there because we've said no repeat, right? What happens if I say repeat? Now let's see what happens.
Okay.
See, the thing is, there is so you can see it was actually drawing.
Okay.
You can see that it is now. I mean, it was drawing these points over here, but the image isn't there because I've given it a no repeat.
Right.
That's why you couldn't see it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, anyways, I have now given repeat. Now let's see what happens.
Sure.
I mean, basically, it should repeat the image over and over again. Yeah.
Okay.
So it should draw everywhere.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's about it, man.
So how it takes how does it find the colors from the image?
So that's the most beautiful thing about this pattern, right? So let's say the image is 300 by 300,
Right.
and and you want to put a dot at 20,20. So it will take the spot from 20,20 on the image and it will put it over there.
Okay.
So that's what is happening. Now because we gave a no repeat previously,
Yes.
it will not repeat that pattern. So basically it was drawing blanks everywhere else.
Right.
Now since I've given repeat,
Yeah.
the image is only 300 by 300, but
Yes.
whereas our canvas is 800 by 600.
Correct,
so it will keep on repeating those patterns over and over again.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can see how this is a much better algorithm than what we saw last week, right? So we'll just let this complete, and meanwhile I can load last week's Mitchell's best, and let me just zoom in on the Mitchell's best, and you can very clearly see why.
Okay.
All right, you can clearly see why this is actually better than the Mitchell's best.
Right.
Now, last week when we saw Mitchell's best, it had these gaps.
Correct.
It had these gaps over
correct.
here.
Yeah.
And over here.
Yes.
and all of these things.
Yes.
Whereas if you look at the the Britson's algorithm,
Yeah.
it's
the
much
gaps
more
are much
cleaner.
less.
The
Yes.
blue noise is a lot more cleaner than it is on
Yes.
Mitchell's best.
Yes.
Even in Mitchell's best, you won't get any overlaps or anything, but these gaps
Right.
are a little bit unsightly. So,
Right.
so harking back to what I was saying last week, if nature had to spread your retina, spread the cells, the light cones and the
Rods
cones and the
cones.
rods onto your retina evenly in a blue noise fashion, this would be the perfect algorithm. It would be semi-perfect. It would be closer to
Right.
perfection than the
Right.
Mitchell's best,
Right.
right?
Wow.
Which is this.
Right.
So comparing the two, you can easily see which one is the better.
Correct.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So yeah, so that's about it. Hold on, let me just see what is up next week. What we have in store. I think we are basically done.
Yes.
I think we can.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
So before I end it, I'll tell you what we had.
So,
What
are the uses of such algorithms? Are they used in in image compression? Are they being used?
Yeah, I think so. I know quad trees are used in compression. I'm not sure about these algorithms per se, but they might be.
Right.
They might actually be. I'm not entirely sure. I just know that they are an exercise in finding out how things spread in nature. You will see a lot of these in even plants,
Right.
how grasses grow, and how forests spread.
Oh.
It's beautifully raining outside, man.
Right.
Yeah. No, it is actually raining outside.
Yes, I know. I heard.
It's
Okay.
beautiful. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Ravi, so next week we had this. We thought we calculate pi using very different.
Oh yeah.
algorithms.
You were telling me about something
cal-
using Fibonacci, and we were discussing.
Yeah,
what
we
were
were
it?
discussing
Mandelbrot
set and
Mandelbrot.
and
And the pi.
and the pi.
Right.
But there is, I don't know that way, but I know the very conventional ways of calculating pi.
Okay.
But I'm thinking that let's reserve it for March.
Okay.
Because March 14th, Pi
Sure,
Day. Pi
sure.
Day comes, right?
Right.
So maybe we can do an episode on that.
Okay.
Day. All right. The one that we had after that, there is a thing called as the Merton's conjecture.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's a mathematical problem. One of those very 10 to 15 unsolved mathematical problems are there.
Right.
And there is a very beautiful Merton's conjecture graph. Do you want to do that next week?
Absolutely.
Or the one after that, the what we planned, the one after that was some genetic algorithm programming. What do you
Which
say?
looks better?
The genetic algorithm, of
Okay,
course. Yeah.
okay.
What
So
I was
then-
thinking for genetic algorithm was that we'll just have a set of balls that would be on the ground, and these would essentially have to roll to a target. Given a certain plane, they'll have to roll to a target.
Okay.
The one that reaches the target quicker is the one that will win.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking in terms of genetic algorithm.
Okay.
You want to do that, or do you want to do the Merton's conjecture graph? We are not going to solve the mathematical
course.
problem,
Right.
enigma that it is.
Right.
We're just going to
Visualize.
look at the graph.
Correct.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both look good. Maybe let's try the genetic
The
algorithm
genetic
next.
algorithm. All right.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Let's do
we
the
can-
genetic algorithm. I think it will be very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. That's all we had for this week. Please join us next week. We'll code up the genetic. We'll code up a bunch of small balls on a canvas that will figure out a way to get to a target all by themselves. All right, using something called as genetic algorithm. It's far simpler than you can actually imagine. Genetic programming is a little bit simpler than you are imagining.
Right.
And it's also very interesting to watch
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
you've only set in motion but you've not coded for just
Correct.
all by themselves.
Very
It's
interesting.
to
Yeah,
watch that.
yeah.
Alright. So that being said, I was looking at a few videos last week, and the thing they say is you should actually ask for people to like,
Yeah, absolutely.
share and subscribe
Yes.
our videos.
Yes.
So if you find this interesting at all, if you find anything that we do over here interesting, please hit that subscribe button. It's a very neat way to create dopamine in our brains. You
Yes.
want to create,
Absolutely.
if you want to create that chemical in our brains,
Yeah.
hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, go ahead and click the like button.
Yep.
And
Share it with your
And
friends.
share it with your friends. Share it with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These might be actually interesting projects for people to look, because we share the source code as well.
Yeah, we share the source code as well. So we upload this on GitHub. Everything is linked down at the bottom in the
Of the-
description.
right.
So you can go ahead and look at them. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Great. Yeah. Thanks. And I'm so glad we fixed your mic, man.
Yeah, baby.
All right. I'm gonna stop now.
Yep.